The ML Sports Platter back with you, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. You can also get it on Tumblr, YouTube, Stitcher, and the Podbean app. We are supported by Bryant and Stratton College. Log on to bryantstratton.edu. Change your life today with a degree from Bryant and Stratton College. We're also supported by the Wolfenden Law Firm, Bradley's Jewelers, and Lakeshore Yacht and Country Club. Super pumped for the long regular seasons to be finally over in the NHL and NBA. I am way more of a NHL guy than an NBA guy, but I would never dismiss the spectacular NBA playoffs. I know the Warriors are the favorite. I know what we're dealing with here with them. And the fact that if they don't make it, I'm going to be stunned, right? It's still super predictable, blah, blah, blah. But at least in the postseason, as we lead up to the finals, we lead up to a point where Golden State should be the champions again. I got to tell you, I mean, these games are amazing. I mean, a lot of them go 7. They're ultra competitive. You've got star power. It's fantastic stuff. It really is. And I'm really looking forward to seeing Giannis Antetokounmpo in the postseason. This podcast is going to be really concentrating on him and a little bit about the Bucks. I would be lying through my teeth if I told you that I watch a ton of NBA during the regular season, watch a ton of the Bucks, watch a ton of Giannis. I keep up with box scores and numbers and highlights and some different things of that sort. And then I'll flip on if I know that there's a big game on. I will flip on and put watch chunks of that game. But for the most part, I don't watch tons of NBA during the regular season. I try to keep up with it enough throughout, do my thing, do an occasional podcast here and there, and then move on. I've actually also never worked in a market where the NBA is king, where the NBA team is like, if I were in San Antonio and I were covering the Spurs, I'd have to know everything. I've never worked in a market like that. I've worked in a market like Syracuse, which is dominated by college sports. I worked out in Albany for a short time, which is dominated by, pro sports, Giants, Yankees, Red Sox, horse racing for sure. There's a lot of big hockey fans out there in terms of Rangers, Bruins, and then you get scattered fans of a lot of different teams like pretty much anywhere. In fact, there's fans of all teams all over the place. And it was proved to me yesterday on a side note, doing on-field hosting for the Syracuse Mets for opening day. And there were a ton of Florida Gator fans that showed up because they love Tebow and all that. But I saw a Tebow Florida jersey and it was absolutely remarkable. What he was telling me. He's like, yeah, this is the only one you'll see. There aren't many Gator fans around him. I'm like, okay, so you didn't buy the jersey for Tebow. He goes, no, I'm a diehard Florida Gators fan. He's like, Tebow's my favorite player of all time, or one of them, and I bought the jersey. But he's like, I'm diehard Florida like every day of the year. So there's Florida Gator fans in Central New York, right? So that tells you all you need to know. I think Giannis Antetokounmpo is absolutely positively the MVP of the league. When you look at what he's done this year, when you look at the numbers, I know that a lot of people are yelling and screaming about James Harden, but listen, the Milwaukee Bucks in 2019, they did the same thing that they did something they haven't done since 1974. Okay, and that is end the regular season with the NBA's best record. And there was a spectacular performance. Absolutely spectacular. That clinched the best record in home court advantage throughout the playoffs for the Bucks. First time since 74. There was a guy by the name of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar who won the third of his 6 MVPs. You might have heard of him. But Giannis Antetokounmpo went for 45, 13, 6, and 5 blocks Let me repeat that. In 35 minutes of play, 45 points, 13 boards, 6 assists, and 5 blocks. This guy is by far, it's not even like a question. This guy is way more of a complete player than James Harden. Way more of a complete player. And if you've listened to me long enough and known how I feel about this dude, James Harden, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of his. I realize he's a huge offensive talent. I realize that he's put together, an amazing resume. He's one of the most potent shooters. I get that. He's unbelievable in space. He also, though, has, reaped the benefits. I mean, as all these guys have, Antetokounmpo included, he has reaped the benefits of the NBA style and the fact that you can't hand check, you can't body people, you can't get after somebody because they're going to call foul. They're going to call foul because they want their stars to get more space. That's a lot of the reason why the Warriors are always wide open for three-pointers. Granted, on the other half of it, I've always said that it's half and half. I think half of how they're open all the time is because of the rules and all that. I think the other half is because they're so damn good. They pass and cut and move without the ball better than anybody in the game today, college or pro. So, what I'm getting at with Giannis Antetokounmpo, he's just been complete the entire year. He's been the leader of the pack. He has guided this Bucks team that's had just a fantastic regular season. They're in prime position to go to the NBA Finals. They have home court. Home court is enormous in the NBA playoffs. I think, and again, I don't know more than, the next guy about the NBA. I'm not a diehard. I'm not, I don't follow every game. I don't watch games religiously. But I feel like Mike Budenholzer, the head coach of the Bucks, has done a pretty good job in terms of limiting minutes for Giannis Antetokounmpo and, played him a little bit more where necessary. By the way, I figured to do this podcast, the number one thing I was looking forward to was saying Giannis Antetokounmpo so many, like 100 times in a podcast. But look at these numbers, man. Look at these numbers. 27.7 points per game, third in the league. 12.5 in terms of rebounding per game. 5.9 assists per game. And 30.81 in terms of minutes per game. Giannis Antetokounmpo is absolutely positively just unbelievable. And he has improved his game. The talk last year with Giannis was, this guy doesn't really have a shot. He doesn't have a turnaround game. He doesn't pivot that well. And now if you watch him, he's just a totally different all-around offensive player. The dribble, drive, and all that is there. He can post up and fade away the jump shot. He's got a mid-ranger. He's improving a little bit in terms of his three-point shooting. And he's probably the longest player in the league. And I think I agree with Colin Cowherd, who said, this guy is maybe the longest player we've ever seen. He's just so long. And the agility at 6'11", 245 or 250 or so is remarkable. He is going to be a force to be reckoned with for a long, long time. And, this team now clinching the number one overall spot is big-time stuff. And I think he's the MVP. I really do. I think he has proved it game in, game out. He's been the most exciting player. He's been the best player. He's been the most complete player. And shockingly enough, from the time flies department, this is his sixth season overall, going back to 2013-14. And this guy has improved every year. Look at the point totals. 6.8, 12.7, 6.9, 22.9, 26.9, 27.7. Rebounding. 4.4 to 6.7, 7.7, 8.8, 10, 12.5. Assists per game. from 6 years ago to now, he's gone from 1.9 to 5.9. He's averaging a block and a half a game. He was averaging just under 1 in his first season. Steals, just under 1 his first season at 1.3 in 2018-19. This guy is a superstar, unbelievable, all-around player. The guy just gets it done. And look, I do realize that James Harden is the offensive player who's putting up 50 and 40 and 60 and this and that, and that's fine. If you think Harden's the greatest thing since sliced bread, you can believe whatever you'd like. I'm not going down that road. I think he benefits a lot from the rules. He pushes off a lot. He travels. He's one-dimensional. And you know what? Look, he's averaging 36.3 this year. I get that. He may get the MVP. I would give it to Antetokounmpo from a complete player standpoint. The one thing that I will say about James Harden is that, stunningly enough, people don't realize this. His stats and how he rebounds, he has 7.5 assists per game and then 6.5 total rebounds. But what you have to realize is, look at the roster that he's playing with, as well. You have a lot of guys. You have a lot of back and forth. You have a lot of back and forth in terms of the backcourt, don't you? And you have a lot of back and forth, like give and take, where the two guards are going to get just a shit ton of touches. I know Chris Paul, has missed some time, but he's going to get a lot of those shots, and he's going to make a lot of those shots. Harden, quick pass over, boom, and then somebody else is going to shoot it. It's not a penetrate and kick as much with Harden. Antetokounmpo is the guy who's drawing defenses in, drawing double teams, posting, kicking, driving, kicking, and all that. And he's really not even a passer. James Harden's a guard. He's supposed to have 7.5 points per game. I mean, he plays the point half the time in Houston. 7.5 assists is what he's supposed to have. When you look at Antetokounmpo, he's not supposed to have those numbers. He's not supposed to have those assist numbers. And I just think he's done a hell of a job. I think he's the MVP. And it doesn't come down to best record. It doesn't come down to that at all. For me, it comes down to him being a more, a complete player than James Harden. It's that simple. And Milwaukee has really, really impressed me. There's 3 more games left to go in the season. Guys have gotten better there. Malcolm Brogdon's gotten better. Eric Bledsoe's gotten better. Chris Middleton's gotten better. I don't know a lot of the other guys on the roster. But Giannis Antetokounmpo has led the way, and he's made everybody else around him better. And I would give him the MVP. I'm Mike Lindsley. Thanks for listening to the ML Sports Platter. We're all over Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. Make sure you download, subscribe, leave feedback, and a 5-star review. We're also available on Stitcher, the Podbean app, and Tumblr and YouTube. Really appreciate you tuning in. Terrific to have you aboard. We are supported by Main Street Host. Head to mainstreethost.com today for a free website analysis on how to grow your business socially and digitally. We're also supported by Lakeshore Yacht and Country Club and Barks and Rec Doggy Daycare. If you're in and around Central New York, you're busy, job, practice for the kids, you name it, drop off your little pup to Barks and Rec. They'll love it. Right on Route 11 in Cicero. It's a terrific place. They do a great job there. They also groom and wash, and you can leave your pup there for a short vacation stay as well. Barks and Rec, the official doggy daycare of the ML Sports Platter. We're also supported by Rosie's Corner and the Manor Bakehouse Cafe. As I always tell you, enjoy the games.